So here we have it. This makeup look is so intense. I love it. All right, everyone, so let's get started. Now for today's video, we're going to be doing something very dark, very smoky, and very, very intense. We're going to be playing with a lot of blues, a lot of blacks. This is probably going to get very messy. So let's just jump into the makeup. So I'm going to be starting with the eyes because, like I said, we're going to be very messy. So I want to make sure that my complexion makeup is perfect afterwards. So I'm going to be taking my MAC Pro Longwear paint pot in the shade Painterly. I'm going to dab that all over my lid area. And today we really want to make sure that the lid is well primed so that the eyeshadow really sticks on the lids and is as pigmented as possible. Next, I'll be taking a kohl liner. This is the NYX eye pencil in the shade Black. So I'm going to start and very heavily pack this on my lash line. And then using a JH43 brush, which is a very tight, flat packing brush, I'm going to start and buff that kohl liner out. So I want to buff this shade upwards. And I think I'm going to take a fluffier but still dense brush. And I'm going to use this to blend these edges a little bit more. And I'm going to go back in with the pencil just to intensify the color at the root of my lashes. And then I'm just going back in with my brush and buffing the black out. And I'm also taking this quite closely to my inner corners and my outer corners, but I'm not going to wing it out too much. I really want to keep the shape of the eyeshadow rounded. I'm also starting and taking this into my crease. And now with the same packing brush, I'm going to go in the Now United and My Beauty brand palette, and I'm going to be grabbing the shade called Kindness. You can take any very deep blue shades you have, and with that shade I'm going to heavily pack this all over my lid. And as you can see, that shade is looking so intense because of the black liner we applied underneath. And then going in with a small fluffy brush, I'm going to go over these edges and doing very, very small circular motions. I'm going to start and blend that blue shade into the crease. And once again, I'm going to do some back and forth. Going in with the packing brush, I'm just going to re-intensify that shade on the lid. And I'm going to go back in with the fluffy brush to blend things out. And I'm also taking that on top of my inner corners. And I'm starting to drag that shade on my lower lash line. And then using a brush with nothing on it, I'm just going to pass over all these edges just to make sure that everything is blended. Alright, so my voice was not recording. I don't know why, but I've been getting so much trouble trying to freaking record my voice. So I'm just going to sum up the few steps that I did. So I applied some black on the root of my lashes and I blended it into the blue shade. Then with my finger, I used the shade Dream from the Skuld Odin's Eye palette, which is a really glittery blue, deep blue shade. And I really just tapped it in the very, very center of my lid. And with a fluffy brush, I just went over these edges to blend the shimmer out. And then I also used a Q-tip. I removed some of the swab so that we have a much more precise tip so that we can remove very precisely some of the eyeshadow to create a graphic liner. And the reason why I did not go ahead directly with a concealer to carve things out is because if you were to use a concealer to carve things out, it would just turn light blue. So you really have to remove the eyeshadow with some micellar water before going in with the concealer to clean things up. So that's what I did next. I used my MAC Pro Longwear paint pot with a flat brush and I just applied the concealer to clean the lines up and make everything much brighter. And I also made sure to connect the lines to my very outer and inner corner because we are going to be applying some white kohl liner in our waterline, and I want to give the impression, the illusion of the line continuing from the outer corner to the inner corners with the waterline. Now I'm just going to take some micellar water with a cotton pad And I'm just going to remove all the fallout because there's a lot of fallout. And with a little bit more of my MAC Pro Longwear Paint Pot, I'll just reapply some of that primer on my lower lash line. Because now I'm going to be using the deep blue shade with my JH42 brush, which is a very small packing brush. And I'm going to tap off the excess and smoke that on my lower lash line. And then using my JH40 brush with no extra eyeshadow on it, I'm just going to use that brush to smoke out my lower lash line. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that dark blue with that brush, just because I want my lower lash line to be extra smoky. And I think I'm even going to go in with my big fluffy brush and go over my lower lash line to really smoke it out. Alright, whew, that's intense. Now with a kohl liner, this is the Yves Rocher kohl liner in the shade 7, which is sadly discontinued, so you can take any white kohl liners you have. I'm going to place that in my waterline, and I'm going to try and connect that to the line on the outer corner and the inner corner. And I think I applied a little bit too much of that kohl liner in my inner corners. So with a detailed brush and the very deep blue shade, I'm just going to tap on top of the white kohl liner, just to make this area a little bit thinner. And that's pretty much it for the eyeshadow. So next I'm just going to apply some mascara. This is the Dairyville Magnet Mascara from Benefit, and I'm going to do a very generous coat of this. I love applying mascara when I have very dark eyeshadow, because if you get mascara smudges on the eyeshadow, it doesn't really show up. So you can be as messy as you want when you apply mascara with deep eyeshadow. And I'm also going to apply a little bit on my lower lash line. Alright, so here we have it. This makeup look is so intense, I love it. So now we're going to start working on the complexion. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to prime my skin. So I'm going to be using the Rare Beauty Illuminating Primer. And I'm just going to massage this all over my face. You'll see this primer gives such a nice dewy look to the skin. I love it so much. And the texture of this primer is also super lightweight. For my foundation, I'm going to be using the Milk Shell foundation in the shade Shell. That did not make sense. I'll be using the Milk Flex foundation in the shade Shell. I'm using that because I really just want a very natural complexion today, and this foundation, a little goes a very long way. So I'm just applying a little bit of that everywhere, and with my Rare Beauty foundation brush, I'm just going to buff everything into the skin. So as you can see, my skin looks like skin. It looks really natural. There's still a little bit of like skin texture and hyperpigmentation coming through, but that's kind of the way I like to do my foundation. I don't like it when it looks like a full-on mask. I still like it to see some of my skin color and natural pigmentation. And for my concealer, I'm going to try and use this concealer. It's almost empty. This is the Rare Beauty concealer in the shade 140C. And I'm just going to apply some of that under my eyes, and where I do want to add some more coverage, where I do tend to have some redness. And with my foundation brush, I'm just going to buff everything into the skin. And now with my Rare Beauty powder and the Rare Beauty powder brush, I'm just going to set certain areas of my skin where I do tend to have a little bit of skin texture. So for example, right here on the corners of my mouth, also around my nose. And I do just want to mattify my inner corners just a tiny little bit, nothing too much. And to bring back some warmth to my skin and dimension, I'll be using the Hoola bronzer with my blush brush from Real Techniques. And this bronzer is very warm. I do want a very warm complexion today to balance out the cool tone of the eyes. So I'm just going to lightly place that on the perimeter of my face. And also on my nose and my chin. And I also want to do my trick where I use the Marc Jacobs Omega Glaze All Over Foil Illuminizer in the shade Guilty. I'll be taking just a little bit of this with my blush brush from Real Techniques. And this highlight is definitely too dark for me as a highlight, so I like to use this as a bronzer topper, and it gives such a beautiful shine to the skin. I love this stuff so much. I just wish I could use this as a highlight. For my blush, just because I want something more pink, I'm going to use the Head Rush Blush and Highlight Duo, and I'll be taking the blush in the shade Bouquet with a duo fiber brush, and I'm going to place that on the high points of my cheeks. And then I'm just going to fill in my brows really quickly, so I'll be using the Precisely My Brow pencil in the shade number 3, and then I'm going to top it off with the 24-hour brow setter. For my highlight, I think I want to go for something golden, so I'll be using the Oden's Eye Norn's Mesmerizer in the shade Veil of Future, and I'll be taking that with a highlight brush from BH Cosmetics, and I'm just going to place that on the very high points of my cheeks. For my lips, I want to do the trick again with the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in the shade Endless Cacao, where I use this as a lip contour type of thing, but not on the lips, on the perimeter of the lips, blended outwards, so that it gives a fuller lip contoured effect. So I'm going to apply some of it under my lip, and I'm just going to blend this downwards with my finger. And I'm going to line the rest of my lips using the Illuminating Coloring Lip Pencil in the shade Raw, which is such a beautiful nude peachy shade. And I'm also going to line over my Cupid's bow. So I'm not going to follow the shape of the V, but I'm going to go on top. And in the center of my lips, I'm going to be using the Colourpop Lippy Stick in the shade Brink. And I'm going to place that in the very center of my lips. And I'm going to blend this outwards. And using a little bit of this gloss, this is the House Laboratories gloss in the shade Venus. I'm just going to tap a little bit of this on top. And here we have it. So this is it for this makeup look. I really hope you enjoyed. I feel like today's video was really short and sweet, but I do like a direct and easy makeup look. It's really fun to do those once in a while. For today's secret emoji, let's do the blueberries because, you know, it's blue. So put the blueberries in the comment section down below. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for today's video. So I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. You can also subscribe to my channel. I put up new videos every single Mondays. So subscribe so that you don't miss any of the Makeup Mondays. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.